Welcome in to No Punt Intended. Oh, baby, we are finally into playoff teams. That's a weird thing to say. I believe this is the first show in July, first or second show in July. I forget what last week technically counted as. We're 2 months away from the season at this point. It is getting closer and closer. We almost don't have to talk about fantasy football in a few weeks because Women of Fantasy Football is going to be on throughout the entire month of August, starting on August 11th. And today, we have Andrew Metcalfe, one of our writers, joining us for the show. Lauren had a family emergency, so she had to step away for tonight's show. Thinking, praying for you, Lauren. And tonight, we are talking about the Washington football team, Chicago Bears, and the Indianapolis Colts. Don't go anywhere. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zolo, and joining me, as always, Joshua Hudson and Ryan Weiss. And for the first time, I believe, on this show, one of our writers, Andrew Metcalfe. Drew, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Glad I could come up off the practice squad and fill in for stepmom Lauren. So
yeah,
I won't fill her shoes, but I'll see what I can do.
I was gonna say that's literally like Cam Newton trying to fill in for Tom Brady. It's hard to do. Very hard to do.
Exactly. That's probably a good comparison.
Very hard to do. But we're happy to have you on, first time on the show. And we are talking today, still our look inside team previews. We're talking Washington football team, Chicago Bears, and the Indianapolis Colts. Three cusp playoff teams. I think I think Washington, Chicago, more cusp, and I think a lot of us feel with Deshaun Watson most likely not playing. Who knows? If he doesn't play, I think Indy probably has that division on lock, depending on how Tennessee's defense wants to react to the 2021 season. But let's start in the nation's capital. Also, thanks, Faith. Appreciate it. This was the Bismarck Larks 4th of July jersey.
I saw it on Facebook. Pretty dope.
Pretty sweet. Signed by my boy Cam Willman. Love you, Cam. All right, let's start in the nation's capital, or just outside of it, with the Washington football team. Last year's record, 7-9. Still a playoff team at 7-9 because, Josh, how good is the NFC East? How good is it, Josh? The NFC least.
Pretty crappy.
Literally the worst division in football ever.
Terrible. Just not terrible.
Terrible. Very, very terrible, according to Charles Barkley. All right. Same head coach, Ron Rivera, no changes there. Let's start with the upsides. Ryan, you have Curtis Samuel. Josh, you have Antonio Gibson. Downside. Ryan, you said to never sit this guy last year, and now you're putting Terry McLaurin as your downside?
I can't wait to hear this reasoning.
Right. Well, look, Ryan said he may lose power, so if he loses power, you know why he's off the show.
If I lose power, here's the sneak preview. ADP. It's out of control, but we'll get to that in a second. So.
Okay, trust fall. Ryan, you have Antonio Gibson. Josh, you have Terry McLaurin. This is fantastic. Rookie to watch, De'Ami Brown. Don't draft him. He'll catch 2 passes. My sleeper, Curtis Samuel. I really didn't know who else to put here. I didn't really look where Logan Thomas's ADP was, but I assume Logan Thomas is probably a solid sleeper at the tight end position. Again, I don't like putting tight ends as my sleeper, but sometimes I have to for some of these teams. And then my IDP is Cameron Curl. There's about 7 guys you could draft on this defense comfortably in IDP and comfortably start them like 10 weeks of the season. Chase Young being one, Daron Payne, Montez Sweat, middle linebacker. Who's the middle linebacker they just drafted?
Our boy.
I'm forgetting his name.
I can't.
Yamin Davis.
Yamin Davis.
Oh, yeah, Jamin Davis. Not how you say his name. Yamin Davis from Kentucky and Cameron Curl, Landon Collins, the duo. I think Cameron Curl takes over. Dude is so damn good, and he was a 7th round pick. He barely played the first half of the season and ended up finishing as a top 15 defensive back. he's unreal. Does absolutely everything.
I think the addition of William Jackson is going to help those safeties as well, because now they have someone who can actually cover on the outside.
Yeah, and William Jackson, speaking of that, he had a great year last year for Cincinnati. And actually, Drew's two players he wants to talk about is Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson. So I guess let's start with Terry McLaurin, and I'll let Drew kick it off, and then we can let Ryan let us know why Terry McLaurin is a downside this year. But Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've always kind of considered myself one of the Terry truthers among the Twitterverse, but I think a lot of people missed this news, but this kind of came out a little bit after the season. But he did this interview, and he announced that he actually suffered from 2 high ankle sprains in the middle of the season. He did, and he didn't give an exact time frame, but I was like going through kind of looking at his game logs, and up through, I think it was the first 9 weeks, he was the wide receiver 12 in points per game. And then kind of in the middle of the season, he kind of just had this funky stretch. I mean, a lot of it had to do with the quarterback play, because they were kind of going through some transitions. But I think that's like kind of that middle stretch where he took that dip is where he had his first ankle injury, and then obviously at some point in the second half he had it too. But basically it comes down to this: he kind of had the worst of two worlds between his 2 quarterbacks last season with Alex Smith and Dwayne Haskins. Haskins was one of the least accurate guys, and Alex Smith was one of the lowest ADOT throwers. So I mean, he still got his targets, but I think a lot of his routes were just kind of watered down, kind of just running those quick, simple slant routes. So I think with Fitzpatrick coming in like last season, he was the second best as far as deep pass percentage at 20 yards down the field. I think we're just going to see Terry unleashed completely. We'll see his like full route tree open up. He's always been one of those Matt Harmon's receptions kind of darlings, which I'm a big fan of that. He can run routes all over the field, get open, good with contested catches. Just not much not to like with him. So I'm excited about seeing him come in with a competent quarterback. Well, hopefully we'll see which version of Fitz we get.
So Ryan, I know you don't dislike Terry McLaurin from a
adore Terry McLaurin, buying him in every dynasty league I'm in. So,
but right now, and I don't know his ADP. I'm going to look it up because our favorite game is coming up.
I was going to say I do. It's my main knock against him. I wrote an entire article about it. So.
Okay, well, tell us what the article was about.
So it's the simple fact that we're taking a guy who, yes, subpar quarterback play, finished as the wide receiver 29 as a rookie, wide receiver 20 as a sophomore, has never averaged more than 15 fantasy points per game, and we are now drafting him as the wide receiver 12. Mclaurin, everything you loved about Terry McLaurin last year was the fact that you could land him as your wide receiver 2, sometimes wide receiver 3, and you knew you were going to get more than that. That's not the case anymore. Now you're fully committing to him as, if you're lucky, your wide receiver 2 and possibly your wide receiver 1. And while I love the kid and he is going to have great weeks, he's going to have 2 or 3 30 and 40 bombs, and it's going to be fun. Number one, we don't know that Ryan Fitzpatrick's playing 17 games. So we might be talking Taylor Heineke. And as much as we want to pretend that game was fun, it wasn't that fun for the receivers in fantasy.
The GOAT.
All in all, you could be looking. And then obviously the very first thing was Terry McLaurin's going to get all the targets. His target market share has been 22 and 20%. If it was 20 in his rookie year, 22 in his second year. If that falls back down to 20%, we're back to looking at 125 to 130 targets, even over a 17-game season. He's not going to be the wide receiver 12. The price is too damn high. That's all it comes down to. I can't pay that even for my favorite player. The bargain is what made him fun.
All those numbers in the term target market share sounded like you were presenting a marketing plan to the CEO of the company right there.
That's what it's all about. That's what I'm doing.
Very confused where we were going there. Josh, you have him as your trust fall, correct? So
yeah, I mean, for me, this offense runs through him. I'm a huge Antonio Gibson fan this year, and I know we'll get on him a little bit later. But McLaurin is the guy that's been there, and he's been doing it, and he's done it with subpar quarterbacks. And Ryan, again, to your point, I do understand the fantasy finishes haven't been there, and maybe his ADP is spiking. But let's not forget that there was a time when everybody waited for that third-year wide receiver breakout, right? This is McLaurin going into his third season. I understand he's being drafted as a wide receiver 1, But when you look at all of the guys that are around him, and yes, this is foreshadowing, so Joe, cue it up. There's a lot of, I don't know if I really want that guy over Terry McLaurin right now. Like, to me, all the stats were there except the touchdowns. And when you look at how bad the quarterback play was, if he has competent quarterback play, those touchdowns go up. And that then puts him in the top 15, top 12 range. I think that's possible this year. I'm not the biggest fan of Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he does have a tendency to start queuing in and zoning in on that main playmaker guy for him. So I think that there's the opportunity that we're talking about that's giving him that ADP of wide receiver 12.
The one thing I want to throw out is, before I just make this a points per game argument, the thing that really hit me over his first 29 games, Mclaurin has only been a wide receiver 1, a top 12 wide receiver 6 times. He has missed the top 36 18 out of 29 games.
So we're talking about Amari Cooper level consistency.
We are.
So first off, I want to say, Josh, great foreshadowing. Second, Chris says Kelvin Harmon.
Set you up for that.
Kelvin Harmon.
Chris says Kelvin Harmon's going into his 3rd year.
I'm so glad Chris brought that up, because the intro to my Terry McLaurin article was, in 2019, the fantasy world was excited about a rookie wide receiver in Washington, Kelvin Harmon. I don't know why everyone latched on to Kelvin Harmon in his 5th round draft capital. Sixth round.
Isn't he? Hold on. Isn't he like 6'5"?
Yeah,
he's a big.
That's it. Yeah, he's just a big guy. But yeah, no, I remember people were making that choice, like in rookie drafts in the 3rd round, of taking, do I take Harmon or Terry McLaurin?
That was like the big debate. The fantasy world are a bunch of size queens. We got to stop this.
Hey, size doesn't matter.
Look for those alphas, man.
Size doesn't matter.
Hashtag trademark.
I'm deleting my whole Twitter bio and just making it hashtag size doesn't
matter. Size doesn't matter. We demand equality in the fantasy football
Imagine I'm going to lose quite a few followers at that point.
Yeah. All right.
But you might get a follow from Rondell Moore.
There you go. That's true.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So yeah, good foreshadowing. Drew, I don't know. I'm sure you probably listened once before, but brand new game we invented on this show a couple years ago is called Would You Rather. Brand new game show. No one has ever played it before. We invented it on this show. No one ever knew about it. Actually, the phrase was invented on the show.
Yeah.
So
really took off.
It really took off from the show. I mean, I hear
Never
it
heard of
everywhere
that
now.
before. Never heard of it.
I hear it everywhere now. Okay, so let's start here. Terry McLaurin, according to Fantasy Pros, is wide receiver 12. I'm going to actually play this a little different because we're going to talk wide receiver 1 here because this is where he's being drafted in 12-team leagues. I'm going to look at guys going in because Terry McLaurin overall right now is 34. He is middle of the 4th round. So I'm looking at a receiver that's going in the last pick of the 3rd round, throughout the 4th round, in the 1st pick of the 5th round. That's what I'm looking at right there. So we're going to kind of be jumping across. There's not too many disparages. That's not the correct word. Discrepancies. That was the word. English. That's what we're going to be looking at. So less more of what their wide receiver blank is. It's more where their overall is right now. So Terry McLaurin overall, wide receiver 12, he's going overall 34. At wide receiver 9, going overall 29, would you rather Michael Thomas or Terry McLaurin? Drew, and I don't want an explanation. I just want to know who you want. If you're in a draft, who you taking as your wide receiver 1, Michael Thomas or Terry McLaurin?
This is Michael Thomas.
Okay. Josh?
Yeah, I think I'd go Thomas too.
Ryan?
MT.
I'm not that crazy.
I'm kind of crazy. I'd take Terry McLaurin. I'm a little crazy. I would take Terry McLaurin. I'm a little nuts. I can get wide receiver 1 Robert Woods in the another round later, so it doesn't even matter.
That's true.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna say the only reason I'm saying Terry McLaurin is if Taysom Hill is still a quarterback, I don't think Michael Thomas. Yeah, like that's an issue. If Jameis Winston's a quarterback, Michael Thomas might have 2,500 yards receiving this year because
and 50 tackles.
And 50 tackles, right? If your league awards tackles to receivers, Michael Thomas, wide receiver 1.
I don't know. He doesn't seem like the guy that's going to be chasing down.
No, he really doesn't.
Well, but here's the thing.
He's the got to protect the bag kind of
But
player.
here's the thing.
Can't guard Mike.
Business decision.
There
He's
may
walking
be
right
like
to that sideline.
there may be 15 interceptions where Winston underthrows him on a deep route, and he just happens to be going for the ball at the same time as a defender. There's 15 easy tackles.
Right, they got to run right toward him.
Yeah, exactly. All right, at wide receiver 10 and 31 overall, would you rather Keenan Allen or Terry McLaurin? Andrew.
Keenan would probably be like literally one spot before Terry. So Keenan.
Okay, Josh.
I actually have McLaurin over Keenan Allen in my projection, so I'm going to go McLaurin.
We know what this side of the show is going. Ryan.
Keenan Allen, baby.
Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is the best route runner not named Devontae Adams. I love Keenan Allen. Yeah, Keenan Allen, no doubt. Allen Robinson at wide receiver 1132 overall, or Terry McLaurin? Drew.
That's where I'll slide with Mclaurin with the rookie quarterback coming to Chicago.
Josh.
I have Robinson a couple spots ahead of McLaurin. So I'm going to go Robinson, but I do understand the hesitancy, so to speak, with Robinson, but we've seen throughout his entire career him perform with shoddy quarterback play. So
No
even
doubt,
with a
right?
rookie, I think he'll do it.
You're looking at two receivers who have performed with subpar quarterbacks throughout their entire career.
That's what I'm
Ryan.
saying. Robinson's done it longer, so I'll go Robinson.
Yeah. Ryan.
A-Rob for me.
Hey, Rob.
It is close though. For me.
I'm gonna go McLaurin just because I truly think Justin Fields gets sacked 40 plus times this year. He doesn't have an offensive line, and what was it, his release time I think was 0.8. Someone said.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Which is double the average time of the NFL quarterback. So NFL quarterback,
Wow.
you're supposed to get rid of the ball in 3 seconds. So if you're Justin Fields, you have to get rid of the ball in 2 seconds, realistically, to be safe.
Yeah.
You have to get rid of the ball in 2 seconds.
Because your windup's longer.
I don't think he's doing that. So, and that's
Well, he might not
what-
have a choice with that line being that shitty. So.
That's the thing. But it's like,
I don't know. Maybe these are mechanical things that he's working on.
Yeah.
no,
this offseason,
sure. Sure, and
They
yeah,
did draft a left tackle to protect him, so there's that. But again, we've seen all the time where rookie tackles come in and they take some
takes a
time to
little bit.
adjust.
Yeah. And I love Talvin Jenkins. The rest of that offensive line is so bad. It is terrible. And that's why I'm a little weary. I'm not weary of Monty or anything like that because we saw Montgomery did just fine.
Yeah,
second
and
half
they
of the
made some
season.
adjustments too to the line mid-season and played
They
a little
did.
bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. And we'll get to the Bears in a second. I forgot they're our next team. But Terry McLaurin at 34 or Julio Jones, who is wide receiver 15 but is going overall 39. Drew.
I love Julio. I got to take Terry there just for the consistency, staying on the field.
Josh.
Yeah, I'm not drafting Julio Jones as my wide receiver 1. I will give that mantle to Terry McLaurin. So
Ryan.
Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin. That's
There we go.
Not even close.
We got
That's a
one
clean
out of
sweep
Ryan.
there.
Yeah, I am not a McLaurin hater. I was fully on that truth train with you last year, but the ADP is terrified me.
I get it. Yeah.
Now-
He's been drafted near his ceiling. I'll admit that.
So here is the last guy. He's wide receiver 13, going as the first pick in the 5th round. So 40 overall. Again, I'm judging based off 10-team leagues. It's just easier to do the math that way. Yeah, way easier to do the math that way. If we're talking 12-team, he's the 4th pick in the 4th round. CeeDee Lamb or Terry McLaurin.
I knew he was going to come up.
Terry McLaurin. I'm still team Cooper is
Quick
wide
to it,
receiver
baby.
1 in Dallas. Yep.
Okay, Josh.
yeah, I still have Cooper over Lamb, but in my projections, I have both Cooper and Lamb over McLaurin.
Oh,
so I'm
wow.
going to have to go Lamb on this.
Oh,
one. Yeah,
Okay,
I think
Ryan?
Dallas is going to throw the football a ton.
800 times. 800 times.
They're only 5 points away in my projections, but it tilts towards Lamb. So
CeeDee Lamb.
Oh, okay.
CeeDee Lamb. Not even a question. You mean the best receiver on the Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee
that's
Lamb?
my thing is McLaurin. Everything I've projected for McLaurin is as him being the 1. I'm projecting Lamb as the 2, and if that changes, then he's a league winner. So
Yeah.
And Hutch has timed in. Thanks for watching, Hutch. We
what's
appreciate
up, Hutch?
it. Terry over Julio. He says that's easy. Yeah. Hutch, it should be that easy for the entire fantasy community, but everyone got a little happy. We'll keep it PG. Got a little happy.
I'm not going to talk
Julio.
direct trash because I don't even remember who did it anyway. But you guys are all aware of this because you're in the chat. But someone took Julio over Justin Jefferson in my Scott Fishbowl league, and I am just the happiest person that happened.
Wait, you didn't know that Alabama's better than LSU? That's what they're judging on.
Clearly.
Jeez, man.
I was already ready to tilt, and then I didn't want that guy to take a wide receiver, and then he takes Julio, and I'm like, okay, well, that worked out just very well for me. So thank you, whoever you were.
Ryan, I think the issue is they thought it actually said 2012 Scott Fishbowl draft.
There you go.
2021. So Justin Jefferson was
Common
Little
mistake.
dyslexia.
yeah. Justin Jefferson was only in middle school at that point, probably elementary school.
Shocked that it happened,
Yeah.
but
So, and
also very happy.
And Hutch also says Terry over CD.
Eh.
I'm just
Can't be right every time, but
I'm on the Lamb train hard.
yeah, I
baby.
am too.
All right, let's slide into because I think that was the big talk there was Terry McLaurin because I didn't realize how high his ADP was, and again, as many of you know, I don't look at the show doc until 20 minutes before, and I actually didn't look at it until I was reading that name off that Ryan had him as his downside, and I was like, the fuck, that was
Like,
weird.
this doesn't make sense. Who have we replaced Ryan with?
Yeah, strange. I could have sworn I remember him last year consistently riding
wanna
Terry
be very
McLaurin like
clear.
a pony.
Every dynasty league I'm in, I think I may have Terry McLaurin on roster, except for our league where that guy won't do a damn trade for any reason whatsoever. But anyway,
I know I've been trying to get Deontay Johnson from him forever, and it's pissing me off.
Whoever it is, Josh will give you a under the table for Deontay Johnson. So I'd hop on that train immediately. All right. The Chicago Bears, it is painful. It is painful. Two playoff teams that we're talking about right now went 7-9 and 8-8.
Gibson, damn.
No, Antonio Gibson isn't. You know what? The Washington football team should have drafted someone to replace Antonio Gibson. Honestly, he's a true receiver.
no.
Well, remember the rumors that they were looking at Najee Harris?
That's what I'm talking about. Is that Peter Schrager had Najee Harris
Yeah, that
being
was
drafted
Schrager,
by the
right,
Washington
yeah.
football team?
Well, even worse, I can't remember who it was. I might have been Schrager at one point. Had ATN going there. I'm like, what sense does that make?
Blows my mind.
God.
But also, what sense does the fucking Jaguars drafting Travis Etienne make? That's stupid as well.
No.
So,
I want to throw out sneak preview of an article that's coming out.
ooh,
I don't want to get the person's name. Or I'm trying to remember. I've edited a lot of articles. I think it's Jeff Bell is putting out an article for Football Guys where he is showing how ETN could fit into Urban Meyer's RPO, and it changes your mind on it a little bit. So
interesting. I'll believe it when I see it.
there you
All
go.
right.
Super high on ATM.
Chicago Bears, same coach for some fucking reason. Matt Nagy. Upside. Hutch, just turn on the bleep button. Does YouTube have that? Because he said you don't need to keep it PG. So
One of my favorite, the very first Hutch episode, I watched every one of us bite our tongue on something we were about to say because Hutch was on the show. It was I remember it to this day. It was awesome.
we keep it PG for Hutch. All right.
That's right.
Upside.
Apparently not today.
Yeah, no, well, he's not on the show. He gave me the green light. Dad's in the bathroom. He's fine. Okay, upside, Ryan, you have Darnell Mooney. Josh, you have David Montgomery. Downside, can you guys just fucking agree for once? Ryan, David Montgomery. Josh, Cole Kmet. We'll get to Kmet in a second. What the hell? Trust fall. Ryan, you both have Allen Robinson, so congratulations. Rookie to watch, Justin Fields. Can you name me another offensive rookie on this team, not named Telvin Jenkins? Tevin, sorry, I kept saying
Cole Kmet's getting a do-over.
Oh yes, sorry. Ben, it says Ben Simmons year. I forgot. That's my bad.
No, Daz Newsome. I heard Andrew say that.
Yeah,
so.
that's news to me.
Okay. My sleeper, I have Darnell Mooney. There's no one else to call a sleeper on this team. But no, I do like Darnell Mooney. He's fantastic. And then IDP, I don't like repeating guys year after year, and I don't like doing obvious guys, which is why I picked Cameron Curl last, and you'll see who I picked for Indianapolis. I can't think of another living soul that you should draft on this defense outside of Roquan Smith. He's that good. Like I think he missed his rookie year. He was a top 10 guy. I think he missed 1 year, and then last season he was another top 10 guy. Unbelievable.
Does Khalil Mack not do well in IDP formats?
Sack heavy.
It depends on the scoring. Yeah.
Okay.
It depends on the scoring and where he's listed. In the leagues I play in, he's listed as a linebacker.
Oh yeah, as a linebacker,
That would
it's
kill him.
useless.
Okay.
Yeah.
That destroys him.
Right.
Like that, he does nothing as a he'll
Well,
get
I
100.
saw Sleeper just made a switch that all edge rushers got defensive line eligibility. So.
Yes, and that could be big because I drafted Shaq Barrett in one of my leagues because he has defensive line eligibility and I get 6 points for a sack. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
If you can do that, Khalil Mack to me has kind of died off the last couple of seasons. He hasn't been as
He has those pop games. It's just
He
trying
does.
to predict them.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
He does. He hasn't been as much of a like Aaron Donald and him were like being compared as like the two best defensive linemen or guys in the league. Aaron Donald has been consistently a home wrecker since he's been in the league. Khalil Mack was a home wrecker in Oakland. First year in Chicago, obviously, was the year that Chicago had the best defense in the league, but he's kind of died off the last few seasons. Not saying he still isn't one of the best edge rushers and one of the best players at his position. He's just kind of died off to the point where I don't really think you hear his name like being mentioned. Like I would take Bradley Chubb at this point over Khalil Mack because Chubb is playing opposite Von Miller, who is getting more of the attention instead of
Miller
Khalil
was
Mack.
out all last year.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. That
Yeah,
right,
and Chubb was still doing well last year.
but he was
Chubb
better
was out
with.
all last year. Chubb was out after week
I
5.
thought Miller was out.
No, Miller was out last year. And then Chubb was out the year before.
Chubb
was out the year
okay.
before.
Yeah, the year
Apologies.
before. No, I was gonna say like the Chicago, they don't have that legit, other threat like in Denver. So with Miller and Chubb, they're better when both of them are playing. Like when one is just playing, they can kind of focus on them. They're not as effective, and I think that's just what's going on with Mac. He gets all of the attention.
He gets exactly. He gets all.
Yeah, they
the
thought they
attention.
solved it with I think it was Leonard Floyd, I believe.
Leonard
but
Floyd,
then
yeah,
that kind of flaked out and.
But
He went to the LA Rams and had like his best career season.
yeah, but again, it's like who you gonna freaking double team? Leonard Floyd or Khalil Mack? Like you don't need to worry about Leonard Floyd off the edge. Like you're not gonna chip Leonard Floyd. You're gonna chip Khalil Mack. No one's chipping Roquan Smith because he's too fast and he's a middle linebacker. No one's chipping him.
You're not making it out there, no.
No, you're not making it out there, dude. Yeah, he gobbles up the run, and that's exactly what you want. All right, Cole Kmet. What the fuck? Like, what is with this fascination of Cole Kmet?
So I'm not going to lie to you, Joe. I did my research for the show, and literally that is almost what my notes say. Is
Like,
why are we excited?
I don't understand. And let me preface this. I don't know where he's being drafted. I'm going to look this up right now.
So his ADP right now, according to Fantasy Pros, is tight end 20. So
Yeah,
it's not
And
like
that's the reason right there.
Yeah.
Like,
He's below
he's
Jared
starting
Cook.
tight end.
yeah, but in every freaking draft I'm in, people are taking him in the top 12, top 15 because they think he's going to be a breakout.
Excuse me, teacher. Blake Jarwin is being drafted at tight end 22. So what the hell are we doing?
That's right.
What the hell
I
are
would
we
take
doing?
Komet over Jarwin, coming off of Achilles.
Would you?
I mean, so Komet obviously kind of had to sit behind Jimmy Graham, which legit, I realized Jimmy Graham was still on the roster like last month. Like in my head,
Still
he
on
was
the
just
roster today.
off-season
He's
cut.
still on the roster?
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like last month wasn't I realized. Like in my head, I was like, oh, he's getting cut. So like at the beginning of the offseason, I was just kind of assume he was going. Then I was like, oh shit,
Oh my
he's
God,
still
he
on the
is.
roster. But Komet didn't take over as the starter to like week 12, and from that point on, his like full season pace was like 88 targets, which would have been like the 10th best tight end. So I'm not saying I'm like excited that he's going to break out, but I mean if you're picking in the late teens, I would take a shot over Komet versus guys like I don't know, like Jarwin. I can't remember like who else is going down there, but I think he could be a good value.
Herb
So-
Smith is another one. That's
Yeah, so I'm just
going
going to throw out some names here. So let's imagine you're in a 12-team league, right? Everyone's taking at least one tight end by round 11. Feel like that's reasonable, right?
Yeah.
Some people like me, I tend to wait a little late. So let's imagine the top 12 guys on this list right now are gone. So I will list them: Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Noah Fant, Logan Thomas, Mike Gesicki, Irv Smith Jr., and Evan Ingram. Those are the top 12 tight ends, PPR, according to Fantasy Pros. Now, you can disagree with that all you want because there's ridiculous names falling into the teens that I don't get, which I'm sure that will change come August. But just right now, let's play this right now. We're going to play a Would You Rather for 13 through 24. And I guarantee you Komet gets said twice. Twice he gets said at this point. Okay. Would you rather, as your backup tight end, you don't even have to start this guy. Backup tight end. Would you rather Hunter Henry or Cole Kmet? Drew.
Kmet.
Is the correct answer. Josh.
I'm firmly on the Jonnu train, and I would still take Hunter Henry over Cole Kmet.
Ryan.
I was expecting to not say Komet, but I would take Komet over Henry.
I'm on the Jonnu Smith train as well, but if it comes down to these two, Hunter Henry, I'm sorry, Hunter Henry, he will see more touchdowns because he's playing a Rob Gronkowski role. So, ergo, end zone, Hunter Henry. Speaking of Rob Gronkowski or Cole Kmet, backup, might add, backup. Drew.
I'll draft Gronk in that offense.
Josh.
Gronk, touchdown upside. Cole Kmet was non-existent in the red zone last year. And as long as Jimmy Graham is on that team, he's going to remain non-existent.
They're going to roll him out there every time they get into the 5.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Gronk.
Ryan. Okay, yeah, fantastic. Rob Gronkowski, the greatest tight end of all time. 15, Jonnu Smith. Drew.
All right, it's easily Jonnu. I'm on the Jonnu train like y'all.
Josh, you said Jonnu. Ryan, I have been screaming Jonnu Smith's name since they got him in free agency. I traded for him the day after they signed him in our dynasty. The day after.
All three of us saw it, actually.
The day after.
I did it.
And
I got rid of him.
Ryan traded him to me. I think I gave away a 3rd-round pick.
It was like pick swap. I was just trying to.
Oh, yeah. It was a pick swap. I got Jonnu Smith, and we swapped 3rd-round picks. Sign me up.
I have Travis Kelce.
Yeah. Ryan didn't need him. Ryan did not need him in the slightest. Okay. Tyler Higbee or Cole Kmet? Drew.
That's a Kmet for me. I've never been a Higbee fan.
Okay, Josh.
He's going to disappoint y'all again.
This is my best moment because I'm the furthest thing from a Higbee truther. Oh God.
All right, have Ryan go. He knows.
This is not close for me. Addition of Matt Stafford, loss of Gerald Everett. It's Tyler Higbee.
Higbee for me for that exact same reason. Matt Stafford. Josh.
Yeah, I think I would lean Higbee. The Rams are actually the next team that I'm statting out, so I might have a better answer for next week.
And Higbee is going to disappoint y'all again, man. Don't
listen.
fall for it.
I know he's going to break hearts. Trust me, I get it.
No.
And Komet's breaking hearts too.
How's he going to disappoint you as your tight end too?
That's true. Wow. Okay.
That's the problem. People are drafting both of them to be a tight end 1 because they're playing the waiting game at tight end. So
well, if I'm playing the waiting game, I mean, I don't know. Are we seriously going to go through 24 tight ends?
No. We still get a few more names. It just blows my mind that
there are some names down here that are shocking me, and I think you're going to say that.
And I'm gonna pull those names out right now.
Yep.
Wide receiver, tight end 17. Robert Tonyan or Cole Kmet?
Exactly.
Drew.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost Drew, I think. Connection issues. Okay, by the reaction, Josh and Ryan are both.
I just don't get what is happening with Tonyan right now because he's falling in every draft I'm in. I've been doing a lot of the best ball on Underdog. He's free. Literally what I've been doing is I either take Kelce very early or I go in and at my queue, Jonnu, Higbee, and Tonyan, because they are all basically free, and I can land all 3 of them in best ball, and I feel like that's just a home run. So
that's unbelievable to me that Jonnu is free in best ball. That blows my mind.
Jonnu's free in a lot of leagues.
People are not. Well, the problem is, and this is something I've been talking about on Twitter recently, people are too dependent on site rankings or ADP, and until the whole curve catches up, these guys are never pop up on your screen, and people draft who's on their screen. You have to go find those guys like Jonnu. In all honesty, Joe, just to button this conversation up, Jonnu is a guy that if you waited till late, he should be your first one. He's the one you don't want to get away. And then you're looking at guys like Tunyon and Tyler Higbee because they're touchdown threats is the main thing. We saw Higbee pop for 3 last year in the one game. Josh called that perfectly. It's what he does, and hopefully you can see that more this year. But I don't understand this being just a slave to IDP and taking guys like, I know we kind of like him on the show, but Mike Gesicki. Irv Smith should be dead in fantasy right now. I don't understand. His coach is trash talking him, and he played even snaps with Tyler Conklin to end the season last year. It makes no sense.
Tyler Conklin, who is tight end 48 right now.
Isn't he like a former MMA fighter or some shit like that?
Oh, he's a big boy. He is a big boy. But just I feel like this one is interesting because Julio Jones is now gone, which de facto means Kyle Pitts is the wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
Hayden Hurst is tight end 32.
Yeah, I would take Hayden Hurst all day over
Cole Kmet. Like at that point, right? Hayden Hurst,
I don't even care if he's the second tight end on that team. It's the same thing with Henry. They're going to get involved.
But it's not even him being like the second tight end. I'm telling you, Kyle Pitts is going to spread out, and Hayden Hurst will run from the tight end position. They're both going to be on the field. Now, Hayden Hurst's snap percentage is going to be lower than last year. He'll probably hover in the
and his utilization percentage will drop a little bit.
Utilization percentage will drop, but I'm sorry, you can't tell me that teams aren't going to try and double cover Kyle Pitts, leaving Hayden Hurst wide open in the red zone. We know Hayden Hurst can produce. So again, and this is, you're not drafting him as your first guy. I'm sitting here, Hayden Hurst is going in the 29th round.
Yes, he's literally, and that's only because Dynasty exists, that ADP exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you take Kyle Rudolph over Cole Kmet at this point?
No.
Rudolph, I think, is going to be more of a touchdown threat.
What do you want for your backup tight end?
Exactly.
You want touchdowns. Yeah.
He's literally Jason Witten, who has Jason Garrett as his OC now. Like, what are we doing? It blows my mind. It blows my mind.
And
Cole
here's
Kmet
what's
is
funny.
high.
And what's funny is it's going to get worse if Jimmy Graham is a cut at some point. I just went in to go look and see what's going on with Graham. Literally, an article came out a week ago that Graham was contemplating retirement when they lost to the Saints last year. That's not the mindset that you want going into training camp.
Ryan, he caught a one-handed pass in the end zone and just dropped it and ran and walked off the field because he knew the game was over. Like that to me screams retirement. But other thing too, like,
and he was just apparently
if he retires, that's one thing. Then sure, Kmet, moves right up, and that's fine. But again, he's still on the roster at this point.
I'm just a little confused that Tim Tebow is being drafted over guys like Dalton Schultz and Hayden Hurst. I think that's the real
Hayden Hurst
issue.
makes no sense. Dalton Schultz, I mean, if you want to take
Again, but it's like, if you're worried about the Blake Jarwin issue, like I know Drew, who popped in and out for a second. I know Drew said he's worried about Jarwin's Achilles.
Yeah, and that's
if you're worried about Jarwin's Achilles, I mean, Dalton Schultz is in there. Just the fact that Cole Kmet is being drafted, whereas Hayden Hurst isn't.
What's funny is we're going to know very early. Hayden Hurst is going to be on waiver wires to start the season in just about every league. And we're going to know very early if Pitts is the wide receiver 2. And if that happens and Hurst ends up playing his 70 to 80% snap count that he played last year, Hurst is going to be scooped up in every league. He's going to be a prime waiver wire target in every league. So.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. And then the last one quickly that we wanted to get to here is David Montgomery. Excuse me. Now, Ryan, you had him as your downside, and my assumption is ADP.
It's really not.
No?
It's because his ADP is very fair. It's hard for me to call him an upside. My biggest concern is this offense in 2019 versus 2020 looked completely different, minus Tariq Cohen. In 2019, they threw the ball to their running backs over 150 times. Last year, that fell to, I think, below 100 times. And with Cohen coming back, I understand Montgomery proved himself as a pass-catching running back last year. they're going to use Cohen what he's good at, and that's my
But
biggest.
is he good at being a
He's
pass
one of the
rusher?
least
One of-
efficient backs in the league.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you.
He is terrible.
So now you're depending on common sense coaching, and that's not going to happen either. It's what
Yeah,
they
that's
what I'm
want Cohen
right,
for.
from Nagy.
So.
Yeah, not with Matt Nagy there.
But hey, I actually did an interesting study. So I took Monty's like his 2019 rushing, like when like Cohen was all the way healthy, and his 2020 receiving, and he still would have been the RB13, like even with that rookie year. And it's not like he didn't get a huge uptick in carries either. Like he only had 7 more carries last year. But I think he became a better runner. I mean, the schedule obviously helped out, but he doesn't get enough credit for just becoming a better running back and developing.
This was the first team where I didn't like having to break everybody down into. I didn't know who to call the downside here because nobody's ADP is really high enough for them to be a downside. So Monty just went there because of all the guys that were available for me to pick. It's hard for me to call like Darnell Mooney, Anthony Miller, who's not being drafted, even Cole Kmet a downside. It's hard for me to call Justin Fields because he could literally take the world over if he gets to start early enough. So it had to be Monty for me. And I guess it's not so much that he's a downside. I don't know that his ceiling is as high as Drew and Josh are going to try to convince you it is.
Well, just something to add because I do just want to. I
mean, we saw a ceiling last year. I mean, that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it. I mean, we saw what his ceiling is being drafted as RB20. Like, that to me still screams upside because he could still easily move up another 14 spots because we've seen it.
Yeah.
That's just kind of where I'm at. And plus I went with Monty because I knew that Joe was going to pick Mooney as a sleeper and I didn't want to double up. So
and just something because I wanted to quickly just go over it. To support Ryan's side, Justin Fields can take carries away from David Montgomery, which could slide that in there.
But he can also make him more efficient.
Right.
Josh,
it's always one of those kind of chicken or the egg things. All right.
Yeah, Josh, I'm getting there. I'm going to support both sides here. And the offensive line is garbage, like I've already talked about. Josh's side, you already brought it up. Justin Fields could make Monty more efficient because one, not only dumping off in the backfield, but also the threat of Justin Fields running could mean that the defense spreads out a little more in the box and is less clamped in the middle. And to support Josh's side, Monty didn't give 2 shits about the offensive line last year. He still ran like a beast in the second half of the season. So, and he was also, you want to talk about a Barry Sanders type statistic. He had 8 missed tackles behind the line of scrimmage in one game. That's absurd. Like that is a Barry Sanders statistic right there.
I think
but that was Monty's calling card going back to college.
Oh,
yeah. He's always been like a.
He's always been that good.
Tackle.
Drew has
He
a good
doesn't run
stat
away
on
from
this.
people.
I remember it from your article. Go ahead and throw that stat out, Drew.
As far as the broken tackle rate, like I said, my laptop crashed. I'm actually on my work computer right now, so I don't have any of like my stuff I had prepared up. But I want to say he was like the second or third highest as far as broken tackle rate.
Oh, easy. And
top 5 in the league.
Going back to his last year at Iowa State, because I remember we talked about it on our Rookie to Watch series when we talked about running backs. I think he had 51 forced missed tackles. Not broken tackles, forced missed tackles in the NCAA, and it led the NCAA by a double-digit amount. Like, it was absurd.
And the issue is that he just doesn't have enough burst or acceleration once he missed the tackle to, like, run away from folks. But if you believe in the, off-season hype about him training to get faster and slim down, I mean, if Monty comes out with a little bit of burst to him, he's going to be RB1 again.
He's got the wiggle. The
wiggle, right.
According to your article, Drew, Montgomery tied with Antonio Gibson for having the second best broken tackle rate last season. And he was the only running back with both 200-plus carries and a top 5 broken tackle rate in the NFL last year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Gross.
That was a great stat pool.
Utterly gross. And it's funny. He's not the biggest guy. He is a smaller guy. That takes me back to when Dion Lewis with the Patriots averaged 5 yards a carry and forced 55 missed tackles in one season. That just blows my mind. Like guys of that size, right? Those tiny guys making
slippery,
Chase Young sized human beings, maybe a little smaller. Chase Young is like the ceiling, but like those sized human beings just miss. Like they could reach one arm out, throw Montgomery over their shoulder, and carry him like they're walking away and like leaving home. Like that's what they could do. blows my mind. It's just unreal. Like that's how impressive David Montgomery is.
And
All
the
right.
only other thing I wanted to bring up with Montgomery, as far as the schedule, like a lot of the easiest teams he faced, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, they're on the schedule again.
He seems to be facing them again.
Exactly. So it's like people were complaining, saying, "Yeah, he
Drew.
had easy schedule." But it's the same schedule.
Drew, I have a question. Did those defenses improve at all?
Green Bay might have, but other than
No.
that, no.
The quick answer
other ones
was-
didn't differ.
The quick answer, fuck no. They did nothing. They did
I'm just-
nothing to upgrade either of those defenses. So, yeah, those defenses suck.
Yeah.
Suck. The only thing is Minnesota gets back Danielle Hunter. That's the only thing. I think Minnesota's run defense will be better than last year, just for the sole reason of Danielle Hunter will need to be,
Didn't
Yeah, that's a big
Minnesota add in Ngakwe as well?
Yep.
Unique Ngakoue isn't huge in the rushing. He was more in the passing game. Same thing with Danielle Hunter.
Ngakoue
No,
signed
he's with the Raiders now.
Las
Yeah.
Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They traded
you're
for him.
correct.
Then he walked in.
And
He's with the
Ngakoue was there
Raiders now.
last year.
Yeah,
Yes,
That's right.
correct.
My bad.
But Danielle Hunter.
I can't
Danielle
keep up
Hunter
with
is Danielle Hunter is the best defensive end in
He's a
fantasy
beast.
football and in the NFL. Defensive end. Best in football. So that is something that Minnesota does get back, and I think their run defense will improve. Every other defense in that division is dog shit. So, all right. Indianapolis Colts, ladies and gentlemen, 15 minutes. Let's do it. All right. 11-5 last year. I believe they're the second team that we have so far this year that we've talked about over 500, the other being the Miami Dolphins. Frank Reich is the same coach. Upside, Ryan, Paris Campbell, Josh Michael Pittman. Downside, Ryan, Naheem Hines, Josh Carson Wentz. That has to hurt. Trust fall, you both have Jonathan Taylor. Rookie to watch, Kylan Granson. Jeopardy question and $100 to anyone who could tell me what college he attended.
Stanford, I believe.
Wow.
Or no, SMU. Sorry, SMU.
Oh, is he a receiver?
Well, he's a tight
He's
end.
a tight end.
Oh,
They did split him out wide quite a bit, though.
no, he's not listed as a receiver. He's not a true SMU wide receiver.
60% of his snaps
He's-
lined up
he's-
outside in the slot.
He's not part of that Cortland Sutton, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley blood. He's part of a different group. My sleeper, Zach Pascal. For some damn reason, he finds his way to be a high wide receiver too, like 5 weeks of the season. So if you can find those 5 weeks, congratulations.
It'll be the week
That's-
that Paris Campbell's out.
Yeah, they're usually easy to
He's just the
find.
Campbell
Yeah.
replacement. Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Look for that big O next to Paris Campbell's name. So,
And my IDP, all right. The obvious one is Darius Leonard, and I told you earlier, I'm trying not to pick the obvious ones.
Right.
Darius Leonard is a top 5 linebacker in fantasy football, and arguably the best linebacker in football right now. My IDP is Julian Blackman. He's the safety. He has progressively gotten better. He's a bullet across the field. And I've said this before, too. I don't like drafting cornerbacks. I like drafting safeties. When I watched Colts games last year, when they popped on in the red zone, Julian Blackman's name popped off to me a little bit. And he didn't have, he had 125 points for a safety last year. That's not even close to like top 30 numbers for safeties. But rookie year had 90. Next year had 125. This is his third season. I think he progresses somewhere into that 160 range. So if you're in a deep IDP league, or if you play all IDPs and you need 2 safeties or 3 defensive backs, I think Julian Blackman's a good guy to have. Or you can even have him as your backup on your roster as well, because there are plenty of really good matchups for him this year. Look at his division. It'll tell you 6 really good matchups for him this year. And just, there's not too many bright spots on this Indy defense. Personally, they're just a really good team defense. I think Julian Blackman is the second bright spot after Darius Leonard. So Julian Blackman is a guy to keep an eye on. He's in his third season. I think he's someone that can pop off in this next season. All right. The 2 guys Drew wants to talk about is Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell, and they just so happen to be Ryan and Josh's upsides. So I guess, so Drew, I was going to put Paris Campbell as my sleeper, and then I said, you know what?
That's why I didn't put him as the upside. I thought for sure you were going to put
It's so
Campbell
funny
as
how
the
y'all are always
Well-
trying to guess each other's moves.
Well, Josh, I'm gonna tell you why I didn't. I said, I was gonna put Paris Campbell there. Then I realized He's still a rookie in his third season because he hasn't played a down in the NFL. So I don't really know.
Rules. It's about
To be fair,
NFL
he's played
service,
9
right?
games out of a possible 32, but who's counting?
9 games out of a possible 32. Currently, he's what his batting average would be about 265. That's Hall of Fame numbers in the MLB right now. So I guess Paris Campbell's in the wrong sport. I sat there and I said, I can't put him as my sleeper because Zach Pascal, who is the 4th receiver on this depth chart, who, in my honest opinion, could be a wide receiver 2 on a lot of other teams, because I do think he has that type of skill. Drew, where do you sit on Paris Campbell?
So Campbell, I've written about him a few times. He's one of my favorite sleepers too, coming into the year. And obviously, you can't overlook the injury issues. I mean, the dude can't stay on the field. But I mean, when you look at the different, fantasy doctors or just NFL doctors in general that have talked about his injuries, none of them are anything that's long term, or even none of them were related to the previous one. They were just a line of just freak injuries. And it pretty much just comes down to when he's on the field, he plays and he gets targets. It only took him 4 weeks to become a starter. His rookie season in week 4, I think he had 60 or 70 receptions. The week 1 of this season, his only full game, he led the team in targets. I think he had 9 targets, put up a 70 reception game or a 70-yard game. So yeah, if you can get past the injuries and trust him, if he's on the field, I think he'll kind of be in that low end wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 conversation for fantasy.
Ryan and Josh chime in. I don't like Paris Campbell. So.
Drew hit it on the head for me. The big thing for me is just they use him. The coaching staff hasn't changed, and every time he's on the field, they use him. 5 starts in 9 games. If you take away the second game of last year where he had 0 targets, and then as Drew brought up, 3 games where he had to work his way in, he's averaging 6 targets a game in the games where he's played. And the most interesting thing about Paris Campbell, and this was just mind-blowing to me every time I have to go in and stat this guy out, is we haven't even seen him do what he is in the NFL to do. Paris Campbell is fast. He is a field stretcher. He is a yak guy. He is averaging 9.5 yards per reception right now. He has not scratched the surface of what he's going to do in the NFL, or he's going to be the guy who we write off one day and say what could have been. But if he can keep it together, not only are we going to see 6 targets a game, which over a 17-game season is 102 targets, pretty damn good for a wide receiver 3. But if he ups that into where he should be, 14 to 15 yards per reception, all of a sudden we're talking about a guy who's going to have some huge weeks out there, and we just haven't had a chance to see that yet.
I love,
and it was a far cry from his rookie year to last year in terms of where he was running. Last year, they actually ran him over 90% out of the slot. They basically said, you are our slot receiver. Mm-hmm. And if there's one thing we know about Carson Wentz, he throws to the slot.
That's where he's looking,
Yep.
Last year, and I'll use last year as a prime example. I mean, we're talking about Greg Ward, who was a quarterback in college, mind you. Took him a few years to finally figure out the wide receiver position. The Eagles promoted him. He led the Eagles in percentage of routes run from the slot and led the team in targets last year.
Yep.
This is where Carson Wentz looks. If Paris Campbell plays, even if it's 14 games, I think he has a legit shot at minimum of 80 targets.
Yeah.
And that should play well, at least for some flex positive weeks.
So I just want to go back to Ryan's point of he's fast. I love John Ross and Tavon Austin as much as the next guy for their speed. Same with Henry Ruggs. I love those guys. The issue is they don't do anything.
Yeah.
That's the issue. And I believe this is Daniel Bragg, who, because just judging by his profile picture, he's a Colts fan. He thinks Paris Campbell's a hot pile of shit.
It's just hard to call a guy trash. It's not like he's got on the field and played poorly. He can't stay on the field is the issue.
Yeah, hot pile of trash. Can't stay on the field.
At the very least, he's medical waste. Come on.
Medical waste,
fine.
right?
Fine. Medical waste.
Politically correct. I like it, right.
What's John Ross?
Very
Can we
off-brand for you, but that's okay.
Can we call John Ross bad considering he's always hurt?
Yes.
Okay, so we can call Paris Campbell bad because
but
he's
John
always
Ross,
He'd have
what
more
was it?
chances.
His rookie year, he finished with negative fantasy points.
hurt. Ryan, he tried. Okay, he tried.
No, he literally didn't.
No,
That's the
yeah,
problem.
Ross
tried.
has had way more opportunity than Campbell has.
This is true.
True. He tried. Okay, he tried. That's sometimes the ball's slippery. All right. Had a little too much buttery toast in the morning. Didn't have his gloves on right. Okay.
Fair enough.
Paris Campbell is terrible. He's not good. So the 4.3 speed can do all that he wants. But I took him as the 108 in his rookie draft. And that dickhead has done nothing. So
Right in front of Hakeem Butler.
I think you know what's funny? You know what's funny? I
And
think.
JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Like, who are you missing out on?
Oh yeah, no, hold on.
Oh no, his second round pick.
I'm fairly positive I took Hakeem Butler. Hold on.
No, you took Andy Isabella too.
Well, let's
Yep,
just be
Isabel, add him to the list. I'm like, once you got past DK and AJ Brown, like,
let's be clear. If you took him at 108, you took him over Terry McLaurin.
Well, yeah, Terry.
A lot of people. Hold on.
Yeah,
I'm
we took
not gonna blame you for that.
And Deontay
Yeah.
Johnson.
we took Hakeem Butler over.
Trust,
over
I
Terry
took
McLaurin.
Hakeem Butler as a first round as a rookie too. I was all.
Everybody was.
I
sold
drank the
on that.
Kool-Aid.
Yep.
I'm trying to
Size
go back.
matters until it doesn't.
Right.
Size doesn't matter. I demand equality. Okay. The last guy we'll talk Pittman because it's like Ryan, you have Naheem Hines. It's like, man, I don't really want to talk about Naheem Hines.
We know who he is.
I just can't imagine he sees the targets he saw last year. That's why he's my downside. So.
He won't see the touchdowns. He might see the targets. He had a lot of touchdown luck.
I just feel like Jonathan Taylor proved he's better at that role than even Hines is. Hines did well, don't get me wrong. When Taylor finally took over in those last games, which were hugely popular for a lot of running backs, Hines fell all the way into like wide receiver 55 or running back 55 or something. It was like terrible. So.
Right, because again, yeah, it was the touch. He was still averaging about like 10, 11 touches, but he scored 0 touchdowns.
Yeah, more importantly, he only averaged 4 targets per game over those last 5 games, and 60 targets just ain't getting it done. So
Right.
Imagine drafting the worst of the 2 Ohio State receivers is basically what Daniel is saying here. And like, it's not like, oh, there's a little bit of discrepancy. No, like there's
to be fair, Campbell was more productive in college.
Right, he was
cute.
the reason.
You know.
Right, he was the reason.
I mean,
McLaurin had his big
with
numbers.
Mclaurin, it was all about you had to project forward. And you always find teams find themselves in trouble when they try to do that and then overdraft somebody. So,
yeah.
it is what it is. But
So I guess the last guy to end on here is Michael Pittman, and what an awful name to end on. Not saying that Pittman is bad, but I don't really know what to make of him. He's probably the wide receiver 1.
I was gonna say I have him statted out as the wide receiver 1 for the Colts.
I think he's the clear. Yeah, well, I think he'll be the clear one.
Yeah, I mean that's what I imagine at this point because T.Y. Hilton is washed. He'll have his 2 good games against Houston.
So from weeks 12 to 17, T.Y. Hilton was the wide receiver 11 in fantasy last year.
I love T.Y.
How many times did he play Houston?
Yeah, twice. He played Houston twice.
Yep.
Right, I was about to, most of that.
T.Y. Hilton is good. You know, it was funny because I said
when Houston says daddy, T.Y. says what's up. Like it's that simple.
When I was going into my playoff matchup, I thought this was the funniest thing. I believe it was the first week of the playoffs when Derrick Henry was playing absolutely garbage defense.
Like
He put
Jacksonville or somebody, yeah.
something like that. He put up like 50 points. I said I was scared of Derrick Henry and T.Y. Hilton for the sole reason T.Y. Hilton was playing in Houston. I don't care how old T.Y. Hilton is. He could be 80. He would still drop 300 yards on the Houston Texans in 5 touchdowns. Doesn't matter. They can't.
I feel like Ryan's waiting to put us all to shame with what he's got.
Ryan, they see him twice a year and they still haven't figured him out.
No, and none of what you're saying is wrong at all. I'm just saying he beat other teams over that same thing. I wasn't even going to argue with you. I was just going to go back to when I went and looked.
You just had that look on your face, like, shut up, kids. I'm going to put you to bed now.
For you.
The main thing is when I went and looked at Michael Pittman's stats from last year, and I just don't. I feel like I'm looking at Cole Kmet. I don't understand where all this love is coming from.
I'll tell you exactly where it's coming from.
Please.
It looks exactly like Alshon Jeffrey.
Oh man, I swear I had that. He is a bigger, more athletic Alshon Jeffrey. But no, remember
exactly what he
had like leg compartmental syndrome. That is a life-threatening injury. Like that was a serious injury that he had in the middle of the season and came back. And towards that last stretch of the season, he was getting. I think he had like at least 5 targets out of like the last 7 out of the 8 or 7 out of the last 9.
I just want to throw 2 quick arguments back at you guys before Joe chimes in here. Last year. And I was the first one to make that I saw that made this comparison. He looked just like Mike Williams. Didn't really play out on the field. All of this injury thing was the exact reason people tried to talk me up on DJ Chark going into last year, where I said he fell off at the end of the season. They said, oh, it was injury. It was injury. It was injury. It wasn't fucking injury. So I just don't know. We're saying these things about these players that we're trying to convince ourselves, but sometimes what they show us on the field is what they show us on the field.
But I think he showed some good stuff on the field at the end of the season.
Not in fantasy.
Like in the playoff game, in their most important game.
Okay, now I'll give you that. When I look strictly at 1 through 17. So there might be something.
He had 11 targets in their playoff. Like he was their guy. And again, I think if you think about it, most of the rookies that struggled, they kind of had that injury in the middle of the season. And with Shark, I mean, he got injured again. I mean, he was dealing with.
Yeah, he did have 5 for 90 in that playoff game. That's a point I'm willing to concede. I didn't look.
The downside really with Pittman was he only had 1 touchdown after week 8.
Well, did he only have 1 touchdown on the season?
I believe so. Correct. Yeah. So, but again, like
I think that's a good thing.
We see all the time, like everybody, because we see Justin Jefferson break out for the most receiving yards by a rookie in NFL history. Everybody expects a rookie to just light the world on fire. Some of these guys need time to progress, and with Carson, it's always been I need somebody that I can trust. If Pittman's able to use his body to square up defenders the same way that Alshon did, and again, I'm not saying he can, but he has that same style. And actually, he's bigger than Alshon. He's an inch taller and about 50, like 10 pounds heavier. Like, he's bigger, he's more athletic. They're rough. They ran about actually the same 40 time coming out of college, respectively. But if Carson's going to see that, hey, that's a big body that I can just throw to, and I don't need to worry about being accurate, because when Carson misses high. And if you're going to miss high, you're going to do that on somebody who's 6'4" and has a large wingspan. And that's what Michael Pittman has. So I think that there's a benefit of trust there. So that's why I think that he's ultimately going to lead the team in targets, because again, I'm not the biggest T.Y. Hilton believer. I think he's done. And again, he could very well surprise me, and that's great. If he does, awesome. I'm more worried and interested to see how the team is going to work the tight ends into the equation.
Yeah. Because
Carson has been very big on utilizing the tight end position.
And so have the Colts.
They have been, correct. But when you look at the trends of late, Jack Doyle's been their starter, but he's been the guy that's inline blocking. So he's not being that move tight end, which was the Trey Burton role, which was for a short time the Mo Alley Cox role. And now you add in Kylan Granson, a rookie who, again, we see all the time with rookies. They tend to take time with this tight end position. I think there's going to be a lot of targets really divvied up at the tight end position, which is why I'm not looking to invest in the tight end position, which is why I would invest in Pittman as a result.
And I'm not against Pittman. I could see it shaking.
I mean,
out
for his
ADPs, for all of their ADPs,
right?
I'll tell you right now, if all 3 of them are there, I know I'm the odd man out here. I'm taking T.Y. Hilton.
So, and that's the one thing I wanted to end on here. I actually switched gears. I saw Paris Campbell's ADP and was like, "Holy wow, that's
wide
low."
receiver 70 or something.
71 or
wide
72,
yeah. Wide receiver 71 according to Fantasy Pros PPR. And obviously, we're going to end with our favorite game show of all time.
I'm pretty sure the answer is Paris Campbell.
These are going to be some names right here.
Yeah.
Are we sure, though?
All right.
Are we sure?
No, I'm not, because there's so many good wide receivers this year.
Because would you rather Paris Campbell or AJ Green? Drew.
Oh, you found
Campbell.
my kryptonite.
I was about to say I had to.
Campbell.
I'm not gonna lie. I had to think about it, but
Okay.
Yeah, I'll still go.
Josh.
Campbell.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time. It was Campbell and who?
AJ Green.
Pass.
Wow. Okay. Ryan.
AJ Green.
AJ Green, like all day, every day. He's the wide receiver 2 in an offense where where he doesn't have to.
I mean, technically, Paris Campbell could be the wide receiver too as well. So
Yeah, one of them has Kyler Murray
and DeAndre Hopkins across
Murray
from them.
He's a great fantasy quarterback. He's an average passer, though. I think fantasy community kind of hypes him up for what he is, but he is not like a prolific passer.
Oh yeah, no, AJ Green. AJ Green. That's not
He
a
just
question.
hurt me, man. Like I defended him so much last year.
Okay.
The most inefficient.
last year was a rough year to defend him.
But no, I do think he will be better this year, though. Just a note.
How about Paris Campbell or Sterling Shepard? Drew.
Paris Campbell.
Josh.
I'm actually going to take Sterling Shepard on this one.
I think he's
Ryan.
phased out.
It's close for me, but I would go Shep.
Sterling Shepard. That's my point. Is like these guys down here near him. You know, you're kind of taking a shot at these guys. And
What's
Sterling
funny is I
Shepard,
just went and looked. Paris Campbell actually stats out as my wide receiver 71. So I have his ADP as perfect.
nailed it. Last couple. Paris Campbell or the rookie Terrence Marshall Jr. in Carolina. Drew.
I'll take Paris Campbell just because I think Marshall would be kind of a slow starter.
Josh.
I'm going to take Campbell also. Marshall's not going to get the rushing opportunities that Curtis Samuel had, so he's not going to have the same type of season.
Ryan.
Campbell.
Give me every LSU receiver from that national championship team. I want all of them.
And so, like, if Marshall comes out and ends up being like the T. Higgins of this class, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
People were afraid of
I
Higgins
agree.
too because of like Green and Boyd. I think it was crowded, but talent finds a way.
We had Jeff Hasley on from Football Guys a few weeks ago, and he spoke very highly of Marshall. He's a big Panthers guy and said that he could see Marshall leading the team in touchdowns. So
I love
Go
him
back
in
to T. Higgins. It's almost like someone this show said he's literally AJ Green. You should draft him.
yes.
Next
I just snagged him at the 8-10 in our Scott Fishbowl division.
Boom.
AJ Green or Terrence Marshall?
No,
AJ
T. Higgins.
Please tell me. it
T.
was
Higgins.
AJ
Oh.
Green.
Yes.
8-10. What the? That's. Oh well, Scott Fish is strange.
Right,
so I will say-
receivers
Yeah.
are just
Well, it's also
being
super
dumped.
flex too. So.
Well,
Yes.
it's super flex and tight end premium, so everyone feels like they have to
Okay.
grab tight
Okay.
ends,
That's
so.
fair. That's fair.
Receivers just being dumped to like.
Okay. The last one. Paris Campbell, because I know some of you guys are high on this guy. Denzel Mims. Drew.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I still got to go Campbell just because I don't buy too much into training camp hype, but it is, concerning that he's just kind of getting pushed back.
Okay. Josh.
I'm going to go Mims. I'm on that train, so I'm going to go Mims.
That's a rough train to be on. Ryan.
Okay.
Again,
At that
close.
price,
SA close, but I'd go Mims.
Yeah, if they didn't draft Elijah Moore, I would go Mims. But
Yeah, that
I
would
think
help.
Moore is just supposedly just this next big stud.
That's what the rumors are.
With Davis there too, Corey Davis. I think
Too bad he's not going to be able to beat Jamison Crowder on the depth chart.
I will.
Oh man.
I will draft Tim Patrick from the Denver Broncos. Actually, about 7 rounds later.
Who I just landed in like the 22nd round of a dynasty.
yeah, I saw that. I was like, man, Ryan's really going with just the proven commodities and screwing the young bucks here. That's it.
Yep.
Dude, Timmy P.
I mean,
if
I guess
Timmy
if
P.
Sutton goes down again, he's kind of the man up.
Oh, heck yeah. Timmy P. Okay. That is everything for this week's show. Drew, thanks for coming in last minute, man.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah,
Yes,
thanks for
we
having
very
me.
much appreciate it.
I'll go back
Yeah.
to the practice squad and I'll be ready for the next time.
Yes,
There you
sir.
go.
No, you're on the 53-man roster now. You're just
Oh,
on the
did
bench.
I make it? All right.
Yep.
Yeah, you're
Made
just
it. Made it.
you're riding the pine tar for a little bit. All right. Next week, first time guest with no pun intended. I leaked his name, so we had to get him on the show. Actually, Luke Sawhook, the Quad Squad leader.
Yep.
The man who probably runs your favorite site's Twitter handle, according to what the show doc says. and host of the Hooked on Fantasy podcast on the show. I don't know any of these things. I just know Luke as he does everything Twitter-wise. That's really
Yes.
that's where I see.
He
that's where I
runs
see
your
Luke.
other favorites. That he's all over social media.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
Lovely.
we're gonna preview the Tennessee Titans, the Seattle Seahawks, and his favorite team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look forward to a lot of disappointment from these three teams this season. They'll make the playoffs and then shit their pants. That's essentially what all three of them will do this upcoming season. I don't really have anything else to close out. I feel like this was just a very smooth show.
Make sure you go to clubfantasyffl.com and read all of Drew's work. The
That
man
too.
is absolutely killing it.
Busted his ass this week.
Absolutely killing it.
Yeah, that wasn't in the show doc, by the way, so Josh shouldn't tell me to say that.
I appreciate
So I don't
that.
want.
I shouldn't need to tell you to say that.
I don't want to be held accountable for my actions.
These are not the views of Joe Zola.
Tweets and subjects are my own views, not supported or backed by the company. But yes, head to clubfantasyffl.com. You can follow Drew at DrewMet_FF, so you can see all his stuff that comes out there as well and discuss with him on Twitter. You can follow Josh at the One Hudsonian, Ryan at the Fantasy 5, myself at Joe_Zolo. And you can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. Next week, join us once more for our Look Inside team previews featuring Luke Sawhook, who probably runs your favorite site's Twitter handle. That's what we're going with. That's his title. He runs your favorite social media site. We preview the Tennessee Titans, Seattle Seahawks, and Pittsburgh Steelers. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We will see you next week.